Hello and welcome to the latest episode of A Discussion. Me and Anton are here, as always, to discuss what has been a really, really good week for the Brewers, I think. With this kind of great escape that we've pulled off is really coming closer to pulling itself together. Anton, how are you?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. And we had some Easter events with the Brewers playing Friday and Monday. Overall, we got a 0-0 draw away at Accrington and then beat Swindon 2-1 at home. Overall, two good results.
Two very good results, 4 points. That's 4 more points than I had Easter eggs. If anyone feels sorry for me. But no, as I've said before, draw away, win at home. That'll make sure that your ambitions for the season are met if you can keep that up. So, yeah, a good point away from home and a valuable point against the 3 points against a team obviously below us in the league that could have caught us up. 4 very, very, very good points.
Yeah, and I think that actually, the Accrington point, it was a game that I think we kind of struggled to get going, I think, and we had to really dig deep, but there was a lot of, but I think Accrington ended up with probably near of 25 shots in the end, but we closed them down. We kept at it throughout the game and they didn't really get a break until the last few seconds. Of course, we want to get rid of that, but overall we kind of just found a way to dig in, to grind out the draw, and we kept the clean sheet as well, which is a huge positive as well.
Yeah, I think it was two sides. Obviously, us coming back off 2 losses and Accrington coming off a big thumping the week before against Peterborough. I think it was two sides very nervous of losing. I think obviously we wanted to ensure we didn't go into a bit of a rut and go on a bad run of form. As I said before, now's the kind of the pivotal time of the season. Whichever way of run of form you go in, if you get in a good run of form, you tend to again win things or you catch up. Or if you get in a bad run of form, you tend to slip down and out of the playoff positions or into the relegation places. So form's really, really important at this time of year. But obviously, Accrington losing to Peterborough 7-0 the week before, they would have been very, very conscious and I'm sure very defensive-minded in training this week to rectify that scoreline. And I think we were just conscious of ensuring we were compact and tight again, which I think we saw we weren't the last couple of performances, but we knew we were capable of. So two teams that I think certainly didn't want to lose. But as the game went on, it obviously opened up a little bit. And Accrington had the better of the chances right towards the end. As you say, 25 shots to 9. But, it doesn't matter how many shots you have. Don't pull the ball in the back of the net. It doesn't mean anything. So a nice 0-0 on the point on the road for us.
Yeah, and I agree though with what you said about kind of it almost seemed a little bit like both teams like a little bit wary to fall to defeat. I mean, it was two teams cancelling each other out, I think, quite, through the game. Johnny Smith obviously came close. He kind of came back to life in that first half. I think we kind of, he'd been struggling a little bit recently, maybe getting a little bit of extra attention from the opposing defenders. And, but he found himself in, he hits the crossbar, which is unfortunate, but it was a good move and one of our best chances of the game, really. And, but yeah, no, it's good to see Johnny kind of getting himself back in there. He looked decent against Swindon as well, I think. Got an assist as well, albeit from a set piece. Is kind of working his way back in after a really good start at the club.
Yeah, you've said before, he came in, he was probably a bit of a raw point to prove, and he hit the ground running really, really well. Teams wouldn't have seen him probably play much, and it worked really well for us at the beginning. But as you said, teams have probably watched us now for 6 to 10 games, worked out how we play. So, he was going to have more attention. And we've obviously had to find a little bit of a different way of playing. But no, good to see him, a better performance. But again, I think a team effort again in both games.
Yeah, and actually we'll kind of touch on that Swindon game now because it seems appropriate to. That was kind of, for me, the definition of a team performance against Swindon because we scored 2 goals from set pieces, which we've talked about before, and we'll probably touch on it in a moment. But just overall, I mean, the Swindon had plenty of shots, but I never really felt completely threatened by them. We were so good defensively in that game. I think Jimmy said that first half was one of the best he'd seen since coming back to the club. And overall, it was just, like you said, great team performance again.
Yeah, another Swindon obviously scrapping for their lives at the bottom. You know, at every point, no matter how, if it's 1 or 3 at the minute, is vital for them. They've got nothing to lose now. You know, they're at the bottom. They really are in a mess as such. So, you know, they're going to throw everything at it, everything down the kitchen sink. I think the match does in number of shots. I think it was 13 each. I think maybe even one more on target. But no, it was I never felt threatened by it. I felt that we could almost go up another gear if we needed to. Again, set pieces, goals from set pieces again. Still have to say, Michael Boswick at a set piece makes a massive difference. Against Accrington, again, another tall, kind of big side. We didn't have him in there, and we missed it. I think we could have probably got more chance of ourselves with him in. But he came back in on Monday after obviously his groin injury, and he caused problems again. But also he slotted in at centre half really, really well. And at the minute, you know, he's probably knocking on the door of player of the season as well for certainly his performances in the last 3 months. But no, I thought it was a good team, solid performance. I think we now know what our best 11 is, and I think you can see that when everyone's fit, what Jimmy's go-to is. But no, I felt we were compact, we were structured, we were organised, we hit on the break at the right times, we played football at the right times. And yeah, even though the stats probably say it was a lot closer than it was, I thought it was a fairly convincing win. One thing I will say, and this isn't me being negative in any way, shape, or form, a lot of people before Jimmy even came back reckoned that we played some of our best football under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. I really do beg to differ. It's effective football and it gets results, but it ain't a spectacle to watch. You know, we're not exactly full of passing, are we? Even in the first spell, we never passed a team to death. It was literally direct counter-attacking football. So at the minute, I'm not too bothered by that. Results are what matters. Long term, yes, I get that results are the matter, but performances and a bit of flair and a bit of entertainment is what I want to see going forward. I get that this season is all about results, certainly at this time. But, you know, I think we're seeing, for me, one of the reasons why he wouldn't have been my first choice originally was because of that kind of football he does play. It's effective, and, you know, we've mastered it again, it seems to be. But I'm not so sure if I'd want to be watching that every week, that long, direct kind of play. But you know, that's a different topic and something we can probably touch on another time. And I don't mean to sound negative. I'm just saying it's effective, it's working at the minute, and it's doing what it needs to do. But, you know, if it doesn't work out, people will be going back to, it's the same football as Jay Buxton played. It's similar, but we're just not as effective. We're more organised than we were before. But I'm probably going to get absolutely caned for saying that. But, you know, I'm being honest, and that's my opinion on it, and everyone's valid to that. And I'll have a conversation with anybody that wants to, as long as they can back their own point up. But it's not pretty, but it's effective.
Yeah, and that seems like a fair point. And you kind of, when you talk about how it's all, I think for this season, it's all about the results. I'd like to see us maybe, you know, pass the ball about a little bit more next season. And the fact that, you know, I think when we started a few of the earlier games, we were kind of looking to play it out from the back at times. But now with I think a few players coming in, we've gone a bit more direct, which it's working at the moment. And when we've got, I think one of the advantages we have is with this set piece thing, and Michael Boswick, I'll mention again in a second, but when you've got this tall team, you can, I think Burnley do it in the Premier League, which is, you know, a huge credit to Sean Dyche as well, because I think he's done a great job there. But they can actually not rely on set pieces, but they can kind of play knowing that they're going to get a big chance because their team's tall, their team's strong, they've got good crosses of the ball, good delivery, and they can, you know, they play to their strengths really well. And I think we're slightly similar to them in quite a few ways. I think Burnley seem to press quite hard when you get into their kind of, you know, defensive area. They're very aggressive to stop the ball, which we do similar. And there's a lot of directness and set plays in there as well. But Michael Bostwick, I think, as you said, is a huge player for us at the moment. And even when he's not winning the headers, like maybe he wasn't on Monday, and the fact that he didn't score or get an assist, but he's another person that the opposition really have to be worried about. And the more of them you can get in the box, the better. And we saw it with the second goal, I think, where he almost took two men and it left John Brayford unmarked for a really, really good header into the far post.
Yeah, touching back on your first point, you talked about Burnley. That's how Sean Dyche worked. Again, he's a manager of a club on a limited budget. You look back to when Stoke had Tony Pulis, they played a certain way, and again, probably budget related to start with, and then bought players in and around that. But technical gifted players in any standard of football will cost you money, whether that be by transfer fee or wages. Physical attributes you can kind of bulk up or whatever, and the less technical gifted ones don't cost as much money. And obviously, with the attendances we get normally and the size of the club, etc., I would imagine our wage budget is not one of the best by any means, not one of the worst, but kind of midway. But obviously, the way things were, we just needed to be effective. So we can't afford to be splashing the cash and getting technically gifted players that are going to score you wonder goals. We've got to find a way of getting effective results, which we have done. So, the long ball kind of way, directness of strength and power and height, etc. They're a little bit more easier to get in through the door. So, yeah, that you adapt to what you've got and what resources you've got. Hopefully, obviously, in the summer there will be a bit of player movement. I think there's quite a lot of players out of contract, but I'm sure Jimmy and Dino will want to put their own stamp on it in a different way. But the signs are good, even as a starting block. As a spectacle and entertainment wise, I'd like to see, as you said, I'd like to see a bit more football. But we'll see what happens and how much money we've got to spend, if there is any, etc. Going back to obviously Michael Bostwick, since Jimmy's come in and was playing at higher up the pitch and pressing higher, being probably a bit more aggressive, obviously he's helped him no end. I still maintain when we signed him last summer, I thought he was probably our marquee signing. I thought it was massive to get him from Lincoln. I think he's had a few injuries before he came, and that's probably why Lincoln let him go. But you can see when he's on song, he's a massive, massive plus. And the partnership is built with Hayden Carter in particular at centre half. And then Brayford and Tom Hamer now at left back, surrounded him with obviously Ben Garrett behind him and Mancy and Clare and Edwards. It's a good way to build a team, and having somebody there that can organise, got a bit of experience, leads from the front is really crucial at what the times we're in at the minute. So fair play to him. A lot of people were getting on his back. He was probably a bit out of the picture a little bit when things weren't going right, but he's showing the right attitude. He's got his head down and he's leading from the front. And certainly for me, he's a contender of player of the season, if we can have one, obviously with our struggles, but he certainly is he's up there for me at the minute.
Yeah, I think one thing that you've got to really give credit to Michael Bostwick for doing, and you kind of started to allude to it there, is that, like you said, he's really got his head down, because for me personally, at least at the start of the season, I know I think I was quite optimistic about the signing originally, but when we were struggling, it was really hard to kind of pick a player in that team and kind of think, I feel like some of the performances maybe weren't quite there, whether it was, like you say, maybe fitness or just, the team at the time was on a big low point. But now that we're, the results have picked up, you see him, and he's, like you said, one of the most important players, I think, for us. And I think we've kind of actually seen recently when he's not there. Obviously, we've got good options at the back, but it's just not quite the same without him at the moment, which the pros and cons to, but for him it's a huge plus, and is, like you say, it's got a huge influence on this team.
Yeah, I think I know he's primarily as a defender, but I think his ability and his threat when we're attacking at set pieces, I think, is the massive also plus to that. And fair play to him for turning that round, obviously with his confidence. But Jimmy and Dino have inherited players that were really low on confidence, some that were out of the picture. Obviously, they've turned players around and got them out of the club and kept some in. He was obviously kept in there, and he must have been really low on confidence. And he's bought into what Jimmy and Dino wanted to do. He's obviously shown enough for them to trust him and obviously give him a go. So fair play for them for kind of getting somebody that was probably really low on confidence, and along the lines of Ben Garrett, John Brayford, Ryan Edwards, obviously was still there when things weren't going quite right. But they've got them out of their shell to be high on confidence and just play their game. Mental side of any sport. For me, all sports played in your head. Majority of sport is played in your head. Yes, you've got to have a bit of physical. Yes, you've got to have a bit of technical. But it's all about mentally as well. And Jimmy and Dino have really done well to turn the players around from their obviously low confidence that they've kept at the club to get them to play how he wants to play, which is high intensity. And certainly there's no room for people to be down and out and feeling sorry for themselves. So fair play to them, and also fair play for those players that have stayed in and around the squad that were there before, and they certainly showed the fight, and they're up for the job.
Yeah, and I think, like you kind of said, there are a lot of the players that were at the club before and have still found themselves playing have been actually really important to turning around their form, and like you said, their confidence, and they've kind of proven to everyone who maybe was doubting them earlier in the season whether they'd still got it, that they have. And I think Ryan Edwards is a huge example of that for me, as well as Michael Boswick, because I think in the beginning kind of few months of the season, I don't want to sound harsh to Ryan here, and the whole team was struggling, but it was kind of, it was one of those, no one really kind of stood out from that team. Whereas now you kind of look at players, and in a way, almost everyone stands out. You can pick players from certain performances. It's always a different performer. And he, for me, is turned around massively, and he's really important as well to how we're playing at the moment.
Yeah, this is going to sound really critical of Jake, and I don't think it is fair as such, but I think the last few months have shown for every player in there, they all know their job roles now. I fear that 12 months ago, well, 9 months ago, we had a team for the players that were individuals, and they were playing as individuals, they weren't playing for each other, and they didn't know their own job roles as well as other people's job roles. With Jimmy and Dino coming in, one thing that you can't knock is their organisational skills and the way that they've set their teams up. I think in modern day football, a lot of patterns of play is all done by triggers. So they know if the opposition have got two of their three midfielders pressing, that's the time to strike, and that's the time when we press. And Ryan Edwards, I think, needed that kind of bit of guidance, because I think, his energy he's got, he must be the fittest lad I know apart from myself. So he'll run all day. But Jamie Allen did it. Jamie Allen was a prime example. He was headless chicken like. He was running and running and running, but he wasn't clever running. It was just none needed. And Joe Powell, I think, another one, he was doing a lot of that when he did run before Jimmy got into running and competing all the time. He was just running for the sake of it and not with any end product. Whereas now, I think we're really acute with when players press and when players are running around pressing the ball high up and closing down. We do it at the right times, and we allow the right players to go. So that's all about players learning their roles and obviously knowing their teammates and knowing kind of when and not to. But again, that just comes down to tactics. So, yeah, Ryan Edwards, I think, I thought he was one of our better performers before Jimmy and Dino came in, and there's another one that's kind of stepped up to the mark and kind of carried it on and probably upgraded their game a little bit, all due to the fact that he's had a bit of guidance, he's had a bit of tactical tweaking, and just organisation. For me, without a shadow of a doubt, I think he's my player of the season at the minute, and I don't think that's going to change. His commitment, his work ethic, he gives 100% every game. He's always supporting everybody else, and he's always running right to that very last minute. So, yeah, he's an incredible athlete. Not the best footballer, but he's an incredible athlete.
Yeah, and there's a lot of the players, like I said, that were at the club before have been important, but we've also got to credit the new signings, the players who have come in, they've made an impact. I mean, Tom Hamer heads home Johnny Smith's cross. It was a set piece goal made in Oldham. As a good header, good cross, and it kind of summed up what we're doing at the moment, which is we're just kind of not making something from nothing, but I think we're looking good, and we're kind of making the most of those opportunities we get. Against Swindon, they were a little bit limited, but we got 2 good crosses into the box, and we've scored from both of them, and it's resulted in us winning the game.
Doesn't matter how many, so we spoke about it before, doesn't matter how many chances you have. You can have 25 shots on that goal, none of them on target, so they ain't going to go in. So it's the shots that are on target, and then the shots are on target that turn into goals, the ones that count. So you can have any opportunity you want, but unless it's actually a goal in the net, it doesn't really matter whether it be a goalkeeper save, a defender block, or an attacking player hit it wide. So things are coming together really nicely. As I say, everybody knows what everyone else is capable of. We've got our ways of playing. We're obviously a massive threat at set pieces. We've got quality putting the ball into the box from corners and free kicks now. We obviously got that bullet throw, which is really, really paid dividend for Tom Hamer playing left back, even though he's a right-sided defender. So yeah, we know what we're capable of. We know what we do well. We're executing it well, and we can only build on that. We can only get better from that as long as everyone sticks together. Obviously, there is going to be some squad changes, I imagine, in the summer. A lot of players out of contract, but as you say, those players that have come in, whether they be on loan or on short-term deals, they're all playing for their futures. Whether that be at Burton Albion for a longer contract or somewhere else at a higher level, whatever it may be. But they're playing for their livelihoods, and they don't want to see Burton Albion go down because they don't want a relegation on their CV. But fair play to anyone that came to the club while we were bottom of the league. Why would you? Why would you come to a struggling club that are bottom, 6 points clear or 6 points adrift, whatever it was, and everybody had written us off? So the last thing they would have wanted a relegation on their CV, but they're willing to have come for the fight, and they certainly have fought, and that's why we're in the position we are now, which is great to see.
Yeah, and it's been a really impressive turnaround. I'm sure that's something that will keep getting repeated for quite a few weeks to come. Speaking of the weeks ahead, we've got, I think, what is shaping up to be possibly our most difficult game under Jimmy and Dino yet. Away to Portsmouth, a team that's looking rejuvenated at the moment. There are 4 consecutive wins in the league, with obviously the Cowley brothers in charge, new management, and they've really made the most of it, and they've picked up some good results.
Yeah, it's a place where we've performed quite well. There's been a lot of midweek trips to Portsmouth, so not all fans would have been, but we've had some really good games there. We've been really unlucky where we've conceded late on as well, but it's not a bad place for us to visit. And we tend to play better at the bigger grounds against the bigger clubs, certainly away from home. And as we've seen, we suit playing games away. But all good runs need to stop. So Portsmouth have been on a good run, so there's no reason why their run can't be ended by us. You bet your bottom dollar that Marcus Harness will score, because it always happens, or Tom Naylor, which will please some people to probably the left of you in your room. But they're Portsmouth players now, and we've got to treat everyone exactly the same and treat them with respect. So it is going to be a tough game. But as I said before, don't look at the form table. Don't look at where the team are in the league. Just look at the 11 players that are in front of you. For 90 minutes, do your job. If you do that and not get carried away or not get scared, you've got half a chance, or more than half a chance, of getting a result. But for me, at a point away from home against Portsmouth will be incredible. But there's no reason why we can't give them a sucker punch either and get 3. So, as I say, let's just play the team in front of us for that 90 minutes at 3:00 and see where we go. Yeah,
and you say don't look kind of back at the form table. That's exactly what I'm about to do. But kind of just looking through their recent results, it's been a good run of 4 consecutive wins. But I don't want to kind of put a dampener on it. But I think they've played 3 teams in the relegation zone, or 2 teams in the relegation zone, and 2 teams that are kind of mid-table. No, they haven't really. I don't think the Cowley brothers have really been tested yet with kind of the opposition, with playing someone like your Sunderlands or your Peterboroughs, your Hulls, the teams towards the top end of the league. But at the same time, you've got to beat those teams as a team that's higher in the league. And actually, I think where some teams pushing for promotion or the playoffs fall down is when it's just dropping results against teams that you shouldn't. I know we were certainly probably arguably a victim of that under Nigel Clough and maybe our first season back where we just, or even the second season under Nigel, we just dropped too many points against teams that were significantly below us in the league, and unfortunately that caused a problem for us. So yeah, they've arguably had a few easy fixtures to break themselves in, but they're still going to be a really, really difficult opposition.
Yeah, and that's why I say don't look too closely at form guides, because obviously you don't know where teams have played others in the league, and it doesn't matter, does it? Because it's where you finish after 46 games that makes what matters. That's the business at the end after that 46th game. We were not so long ago we were top of the form table, so it's not like we're out of form, is it? Just because we've dropped down a little bit. So anybody can beat anybody. Certainly this season, even stranger with no fans in the ground, with the COVID situation. I think that's it's made all football this year interesting. Anyone can beat anybody, and it's one thing that may have come good of COVID is that it's shown that teams shouldn't be scared of anybody because, and I keep saying, it's about the 11 against 11 on the pitch for 90 minutes and see what happens.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's going to be one of our biggest tests yet. But it's also a game that suits us tactically, and we've said this about a few games. Sometimes it's gone well, sometimes not so much. But it seems like Portsmouth are a team that will want to keep the ball. They'll want to keep it on the deck. They'll want to dominate possession, which, in a way, as we've spoken about before, we're direct, we're fast, and it's kind of plays to our strengths.
Yeah, it does, and I don't know why, but obviously away from home, it's perfect for us. A big team, looking obviously to get promotion. It just stinks for me as a newspaper headline on Sunday morning that the Brewers, yet again, make somebody else stutter. So whether it be huff and puff and a tight draw somewhere or us sneak a win, I'm really confident. The only disappointing that is me is actually it's a chance to visit Port. Would have been a chance to visit Portsmouth on a Saturday afternoon and a nice away day rather than an away afternoon / early morning back at the ground. So it would have been nice to have visited Portsmouth in the daylight rather than at night time. But hey ho, we'll be back there soon.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. And yeah, I mean, like you said, we've had some really kind of impressive shock results and just performances as well away at those teams who some would class as, the bigger teams. We've had a really good record at the Stadium of Light. Like I said, Portsmouth as well. And then obviously when we're in the Championship, we put in a really good away performance of Aston Villa and Newcastle. Didn't get the results that maybe our performance is warranted on those days, but no, it's something that we seem to really embrace as a football club, and it's pretty handy for when you've got a fixture like this.
Yeah, we've talked about it many times before. Burton Albion are a club that are all about making dreams come reality, I think, and that whether that be rising from non-league to the Championship, whether that be in giant upsets in the FA Cup or Carling Cup reaching the semi-final. Every time we play a bigger club, we always seem to rise to the occasion. And there's not many teams that have had such a good history in such a short space of time. So, as I say, I'm convinced, though, that the management will keep the players' feet on the ground, and as they keep saying, the plan, execute, and then review, and they're just going to keep going like that until the end of the season. It sounds really boring, but that's how it is.
Yeah, and we'll look to plan, execute, and review that Portsmouth game, and then we head straight into another. This fixture list, we've said many times before, is unforgiving, and we play a Doncaster team who are going to be looking to really kind of hit form again. I think they haven't won in the last, maybe 5 or 6 games, so they're a team that many had high expectations for at the start of the season, I think, and they've dropped off a little bit recently. They've dropped points to a lot of teams, so we'll be looking to kind of make the most of them hopefully being down and heads down and get a really, really big victory.
Yeah, it's where the change of manager for them obviously hasn't worked. Darren Moore was there, flying high, doing really well. Obviously, he's gone to Sheffield Wednesday to a bigger club as such, and unfortunately, their season's kind of propelled in the wrong direction. Obviously, we've got a new manager in, and we've gone up. They've had a new manager for different circumstances, and they've gone down. But as I've said before, and this sound like a stuck record, that doesn't matter. We just got to play what's in front of us. They're going to want to make amends. They might want to make that late push still. So we've got to be on guard. But teams will worry about us as well. So there's 8 games left, 8 interesting games. I'd like, in an ideal situation, I'd like to win the next 2 and then play the next 6 without any kind of fear or worry that we haven't need to pick points up and see where we go. So I just want to get survival finished, sorted, chained up, whatever you want to call it, and then just plan then for next season. But we've got 8 games left, as I say, all against different kinds of sides. But let's just take each one as we come along and pick each one off.
Yeah, and at the moment the table makes for really good reading. I think for us, especially with how far we've come in this last kind of 4 months or so. But we have got to keep going because I think I've said this before. We know from our own experiences and since the turn of the year how teams can go on runs of form and can really just go look unbeatable, which is exactly what we did, and we've got to kind of be wary. We've got to keep at it, which I'm sure we will do. Like you said, sure Jimmy and Dino will be keeping the players very, very level-headed, very focused, and we've got to just kind of finish off the job now, and make sure that we can 100% secure safety and that we'll be in this league next year.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would have been obviously the one objective, survival. I think to be so close to it so soon with so many games left is testament to the job we've done. But there is a season to finish, or even when we are safe, there's still games to make a platform for next season. As I say, players to make points and prove themselves to the management, and they should be part of the next Burton Albion adventure. Or obviously for trying to gain a better contract elsewhere else. So there's still plenty to play for, even when we are safe. So still good 8 interesting games.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how we kind of fire up. We've got some very varied opposition. Going to be some very tough games in there. Some games that we'll be looking to win and dominate as well. It's a good kind of sample of the league. We've got kind of playing a team from each kind of those sections that I've mentioned earlier in previous episodes. So yeah, it's a good, and we can kind of gauge where we are again if we do go and make sure that we are safe or we're in a very good position, which we are already. We've got to keep going, but it's also an opportunity, like you said, for players, the few who are out of contract, maybe to go and prove a point, as you said, and they can whether they want a new contract, like you said, and it gives them hopefully we'll see a few players given a chance to make a statement and look to get a new deal, like you said, with a hero elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, the views on who should stay and who should go amongst fans will be very varied. Probably not a talking point for tonight, but I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point before the season's out. But, your views on players that should stay will be different to mine. I'm sure Dino's and Jimmy's will be different to both mine and yours. And at the end of the day, those are the ones that count. But that's why football's so good. It's all about opinions. And I said before, opinions are vital to what football's about, as long as you've got the valid points to back them up with. So, I'm sure we'll talk about ins and outs and who should stay, who should go in later episodes. But it certainly is the right time now to hit form if you want to be earning a new contract at Burton Albion or gaining another contract somewhere else or higher up in the high division.
Yeah, and these 2 games, like I said, are a good platform. 2 good results there would see us in a really good position. What's your score prediction for the Portsmouth game? Do you see the Brewers pulling off a big win?
Deep down, if you offered it me now, I'd take 2 draws. Two big clubs. So I'd take 2 draws, 2 points out of the 6 would be, be okay. But I've got a sneaky suspicion we're going to do a Jimmy 1-0 against Portsmouth. And I'll go with a 2-1 win against Doncaster. I think I'll still be positive. You?
Wouldn't be bad results, they would. I think I'll take a 1-1 draw against Portsmouth, and then we'll Jimmy 1-0 against Doncaster instead. But no, hopefully we can use this. Like I said, it's a platform. We're in a good position. We've got to keep going. These 2 games will be big tests for us. We've got to, really embrace them, as I'm sure we would, and get some good results on the board.
Yeah, I wouldn't let the person recording the scores probably use too much ink, because our predictions recently have been awful. But you say I'm positive. I think we will get results, but offer me 2 points now out of the games, I would. If we can sneak just 1 win, even better. But I'm really positive that we can beat anybody on our day, just because of the way we're performing, and the way we're set up. So yeah, as I said, it's not highly entertaining, but it's effective. So we can beat anybody.
Yeah, and we've shown that as well. We're beaten top of the league twice in the last 4 months, I think. Top of the league at the time in Peterborough and Hull, and Portsmouth are 4th. It'll be a good test, and it's the kind of game that we love to play in. So I'd take 2 draws, but if we can edge on with a set piece or a counter attack or whatever it is, whether it's off someone's shin from a corner in the 92nd minute, I'd certainly take that and take the 3 points. So yeah, two good games. Interesting to see how we fare up. Fingers crossed for a positive outcome in both of them.
Yeah, 100%.
Anton, thank you very much for joining me this evening. And fingers crossed for 2 positive results.
No problem. Pleasure as always. And 2 positive results. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Cheers. Thanks, Anton.
See ya.
See ya.